Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the School Counselor Advisory. I'm glad that you're here. My name is Dr. Damian Sweeney. Hopefully, we've met in the past. Dr. Cersei is on medical leave. She had to go out starting yesterday, and she won't be back for a couple of weeks. So keep her in your thoughts. She had to have some pretty significant procedures. So we're thinking of you, Michelle, I know you're going to watch this. So we're thinking of you. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and we do have Corinne who is going to do roll call. We've got Sarah Aiken who will be taking notes. So I'm going to go ahead and give you all a shout out for that. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Oops, you don't need that. All right. Megan, can you give me a thumbs up when you can see my screen?
Yep, I can see it.
Okay, perfect. All right. So I think it's always important to model best practices. So one of the things that we always urge our school counselors to do is lead professional learning for your staff, right? Be part of that professional learning, be part of those faculty meetings, be on the agenda. And when you are, utilize the 3 SEL signature practices. The first one is called a warm welcome and inclusion activity. So for today's warm welcome and inclusion activity, I'd like you to just put 3 words in the chat box. We are hope dealers. That's our number one job as school counselors, to provide hope for our students. So in these last few weeks before the holiday break, what are 3 different words that will describe the ways that you're going to provide hope to your students? Please put that in the chat box. Let's take 2 or 3 minutes. Three words or 3 ways you're going to provide hope to your students for these last few weeks before the holiday break. While you're doing that, I want to tell you about a counseling technique that I think every counselor should be aware of. Make sure we're getting people in. So there's a counseling technique called flagging the minefield. And flagging the minefield is preparing our students for difficult challenges that they can anticipate, right? So for many of us, when we grew up and we went to school in our K-12 lives, we were probably looking forward to holiday breaks. We were looking forward to things like Thanksgiving and Christmas and spring break and summer break and that kind of thing. But now that you've been in this role for some time, you realize there are many students that struggle with that anticipation of those breaks. You realize that some kids struggle because of trauma that they can anticipate, of a lack of food or resources, and definitely a lack of connection. So flagging the minefield is helping students anticipate those challenges and really working through what they can anticipate. A lot of times we do things like role play with our students during that using that flagging the minefield technique as well. All right, so think about that as you think about this opening, this warm welcome and inclusion activity. Give me 3 ways that you are going to provide hope in these last few weeks to your students. And it can also be to your staff. All right. I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and I want to check out what you put in the chat box. All right. I'm seeing a lot of great things. Heather Moore, where are you? I don't see you on the screen right now. Give me a wave. Okay. All right. I just want to see what color your hair was today. Hey, no purple hair today. All right. Encouragement, support, and love. I see Kate. Hey, Kate. Gosh, I imagine that your new office is just as lovely as your old one that I visited. So excitement, energy, and listening. Gosh, it's so important to listen. Mindy says kindness, compassion, encouragement. Scott, advocate, push. I love that word, push and listen. positive support, smiling face and encouragement, being an active listener. Corinne, support, listener, showing kindness, motivation. Okay, hugs, encouragement, calm in the storm. I want to talk about calm in the storm. So I was recently exposed to a few different images from speakers. I'm at a conference in New Orleans, by the way. So that's why you may hear some background noise, but I've been really trying to grow in many areas. And one of these speakers said, be a bison. A bison is not going to avoid the storm. They're going to go right through it. And a lot of times as school counselors, we are nice people. You are lovely, nice people. But sometimes it takes that willingness to go through the storm to best support our students, right? Especially if you see some inequities or you see some bullying, right? I'm with a colleague who's doing a dissertation, and her dissertation is on educator bullying to students. I see a lot of head shaking. You've seen this happen, right? But what do we do when we see it, right? Do we avoid it? Do we go around it? Or do we go through it? So be that bison. All right. Okay. I see Paula, welcome and congrats on your new position in JCPS. Reassurance, love, and encouragement. Elizabeth says being present, modeling gratitude. I love that. Compassion, self-worth, advocating. All right, perfect. Grace, empathy, love. All right. Thank you so much. I'm going to turn it over to you, Corinne. Can you please take roll?
Sure will. Good morning. All right, Sarah Aiken, Western Kentucky Educational Cooperative.
Here.
Elizabeth Barnett, Bullitt County. Kate Barron, Jefferson County.
I'm here.
There you go. Courtney Benfield, Glasgow Independent.
Good morning. I'm here.
Thank you. Calvin Brooks, Jefferson County. Alicia Bush, Warren County. Rachel Caswell, Fort Thomas Independent.
I'm here.
Amy Cole, Powell County. Strozzy Collins, Jefferson County. Chesley Crane, Simpson County.
Good morning, I'm here.
Scott Danner, Union County.
I am here.
Thank you. Camille DeStefano, Caverna Independent. Krisha Dye, Western Kentucky University. Beth Fleming, Hopkins County.
Good morning. I'm here.
Thank you. Kelly Fox, Boyd County.
Good morning, I'm here.
Thank you. Fatima Fusen, Whitley County.
Good morning. I'm here.
Suzanne Gibbs, Corbin Independent.
Here.
Melina Gibson, Jefferson County. Terry Hall, Boone County.
I'm here.
Thank you. John Hargis, Pulaski County.
I am here.
Travis Kern, Bergen Independent. Mary Lewis, Berea Independent. Julie Link, Russellville Independent.
I'm here.
Thank you. Jessica Longland,
Hi,
Boone County.
I'm
Sorry.
here.
Travis Kern here too as well. I'm so sorry.
Travis, gotcha. All right, Carla McCarty, Paintsville Independent. Carrie McGrath, Clark County.
I'm here.
You. Kayla McKinney, Floyd County.
I'm here. Good morning.
Antonia Melton, Fayette County.
I'm here. Good morning.
Thank you. Good morning. Heather Moore, Boyd County.
Good morning, I'm here.
Thank you. Paula Moore, Jefferson County.
Good morning, I'm here too.
Thank you. Cordia Pickrell, Jefferson County.
I'm here. Good morning.
Morning. Amy Pike, Meade County. Santina Plotner, Ohio Valley Educational Cooperative.
Here.
Thank you. All right. Garrick Lee Ratliff, Craft Academy. Joe Reynolds, Jefferson County. Mindy Rose, Callaway County.
Hi, I'm here.
Thank you. Stacy Russell, Boone County. Amber Schmidt, Kenton County. Carl Shane Siegel, Graves County.
I'm here.
Jelena Wheeler, Russell Independent.
I'm here.
Thank you. Tammy White, Webster County. Chloe Wilcher, Lincoln County. And Kristen Williamson, Clark County.
Second to last one.
Good morning, I'm here.
Thank you. All right, that is it, Damien.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. So the next thing on our agenda is to give you some KDE updates, and I do have a lot, and I think that they're going to be really relevant to you. So if you're taking notes, this would be a good time. Our statewide cadre for school counselors is December 5th, so next week. And with that, we're really excited. We've talked with all of the presidents of the school-based mental health associations. And they're going to be here. They're going to be with us virtually, of course, to present a little bit about their roles and how we can all work with one another. So you're going to hear from Heather Bushelman with the Kentucky School Counseling Association. You're going to hear from April Bowersox with the Kentucky Association for School Psychs. You're going to hear from Lori Vogel and Tish Brookins from the Kentucky Association for School Social Workers. And finally, you'll hear from Betty Pennington, who is, she's not the president of the Family Youth Service Centers, but she's supporting Melissa Goins, and she'll be presenting in her stead. So you'll hear from each of those organizations and roles a little bit about what they do. You'll hear things like how they approach MTSS, and then again, we'll learn how we can best work with one another. As you know, when we're not meeting with our when we're not consistently meeting with our other school-based mental health counselors, a lot of times the work can be duplicative. So I see Courtney. If I'm working with Courtney, then I may not realize that the Frisk is also working with Courtney, and then the school social worker is also working with Courtney. So how can we ensure that Courtney's getting the support that she needs, but also that we have time to work with Heather and Scott and Chloe, right? And a lot of times we call this an interconnected systems framework, and that's going to take planning. That's going to take those consistent weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly meetings where you are a school-based mental health PLC. Now, let's go back to counselors are very nice people. We're very sweet people. So everybody in those positions has this like, I want to please, I want to do a good job. We've also been looking at this. We've also been considering like how we tend to feel like we have to be perfect. So there are times where we'll get in these meetings and nobody wants to take the lead, right? Because nobody wants to seem like they're trying to overstep. And I learned from my friend Sarah Aiken, who's on the call this week, sometimes you just have to take the lead. Sometimes you just have to be the one that says, we're getting together. This is in the best interest of students. I'm not trying to like tell you what to do, but this is a time where we need to come together and figure out how we're going to approach the supports that we offer our students, families, and staff. Okay, so you'll hear from all of those leaders, and we've asked them not to just give you like, slides like school counselors should see students at a ratio of 250 to 1, but more, we want to hear more like qualitative stories. What is a day in the life of a school counselor? When you get to school, I remember so vividly, I would get to school and I would like have my backpack on and I would just like have put my lunch in the fridge, and I'm literally going to my office and I've got like 5 students and families waiting for me in the office that need to be enrolled. All right, so immediately everything that I had planned for that day is thrown off, right? Because I need to get those students in as quickly as possible. And then I can't just get them in the system, right, without actually orienting them and making them feel that sense of belonging and sense of care and sense of, being seen. So that's going to add some time. So we want to hear stories about that. What is that like? What is a day in the life like for a FRISC, a school social worker, a school psych? And then how can we be more efficient in the work that we do? One of the so I'm part of a group called School Counselors for MTSS, right? We offer a lot of like professional learning. We have a great media presence, and we just published a book. And my chapter in that book is chapter 10. I'm not like trying to sell it, don't worry. But I do think it's relevant because the chapter is all about like braiding initiatives, and it's all about like trying to work smarter, right? So if you're going to a PLC after school on Monday, and that PLC is on school-based mental health, and then on Tuesday you've got a trauma team meeting, right? And on Wednesday you've got an MTSS meeting. How can we consolidate that and be more efficient with your time? So again, you can increase the supports that you offer while not burning out. All right, so that's just one of the things that I want you to be aware of. We have our last New School Counselor Academy on December 6th. I'll be taking that one and I'll be going to Ashland, Kentucky, and that is with KEDC. So this will be our eighth session, and we're really excited. Dr. Searcy has been on the road. She's been traveling. I've been able to join her at some of these, and they've gotten rave reviews. It really helps our school counselors many times that are not only new to school counseling, but may even be new to education, period. It really helps them become more familiar with things like our ASCA mindsets and behaviors for students, right? Our ethical standards, our professional standards. It helps them think through being data-driven as well. All right. Thank you, Santina. I love being with you all. And Santina, big shout out to you. One of the things I want to talk to the whole group about is we have put together 6 different asynchronous modules that will be coming out in a few months. And 2 of those modules are for school counselors. Right, so one is social emotional learning. How do you approach that as a school counselor, as a busy school counselor with heavy caseloads, crises, trauma, poverty, all of the things? How do you support social emotional learning? And then the second, the 6th video, so the second one for school counselors, is all about creating that comprehensive school counseling program. All right, big shout out to Santina. I was able to review Module 5 on SEL and counseling yesterday with our team, and you are showcased quite a bit. You talk a lot about, just school counselors being the heart of the school and helping lead that social emotional work, right? So thank you for all that you do. All right, so again, our final New School Counselor Academy will be next week in Ashland. Michelle and I will be leading a webinar for the American School Counseling Association on December 19th. That webinar is all about leveraging data to create equitable outcomes, right? So hopefully you're aware that we brought, I'm so proud of it. We brought the equity dashboard to Kentucky. It's in Infinite Campus. I was able to go to the Office of Education and Technology, and I had you in mind, right? We had you in mind. We said, we know that our school leaders are overwhelmed with data, right? So we're data rich, but insights poor, because there's so much data out there. It can be overwhelming to figure out, like, where should I start? Where should I look? So that equity dashboard helps you figure out, where is disproportionality? You know, do you have students that are underrepresented, historically underrepresented students that are disproportionately present in advanced placement or gifted and talented programs? You know, do you have overrepresentation of underrepresented students in school suspension or out of school suspension? So you've got things like that. We're also going to bring in many of our Kentucky tools to that Ask a National webinar, where we're talking about things like Panorama and the Kentucky Working Conditions Survey. You know, you should know that only about 25% of our educators in Kentucky feel good about their emotional well-being and the emotional well-being of their colleagues. So how are we as school counselors taking our own school's data on that metric alone and saying, we're going to do this action step, we're going to do that action step? We've also got the Student Quality of Climate and Safety Survey. I always say it wrong. It's climate and safety, or safety and climate, but it's it's one where students answer questions like, I go to a school that's a caring place. If I were to miss a day of school, my teachers would care about it. You know, if I'm struggling, my teachers are going to step up and help me. So we're talking about leveraging that kind of data as well. Right. So when you're thinking about data as a school counselor, of course, you know, use those different metrics, but also think about ABC data as school counselors, right? Who remembers what ABC data is? All right, Terry, you want to tell us?
So that's why you don't raise your hand in meetings. I'm having to do that a lot. The antecedent, the behavior, and then the consequences of that behavior is, just it's that data collection piece is what I know it as.
Yeah, okay, thank you. I was honestly just getting sick of hearing myself, so I needed some other voice to break it up. When I'm thinking about school counseling data and ABC data, I think about attendance data, behavior data, and course passing data, right? Those three data, three sets of data allow you to become that data-driven school counselor. So how are we looking at attendance data? I often think about like Kate Barron, who's really, really good at doing small groups. So if Kate is like, you know, we've got 20 students that are chronically absent, you know, how can she do a small group for those 20 students? You know, what other interventions is she going to need to put in place for those 20 students? Is it going to be calling home? Is it going to be home visits with another adult? You know, is it going to be, making sure that there's a check-in system with that student, right? So those are just a few interventions that we can put in place for attendance. With behavior data, how can I do a small group for students that are that have a lot of office referrals? Right? How can I show them what you talked about in the chat box earlier, that love, that compassion, that empathy, that grace, right? And how can we ensure that they know when they miss a day because they're suspended, or when they miss a day because they don't want to be at school, we are going to miss them, right? We care that much. We're going to notice that they're gone, and we're going to miss them when they are. Okay, and then course passing, right? You notice that that's an asset-based term. We're not talking about just course failures, but who is struggling with course passing, right? Who may be retained if we don't intervene? And then how are we going to support those students? All right, often that's going to be going to PLCs with teachers, seeing what's going on. Is there missing work? How can we support the student in making up that missing work, right? What other interventions can we offer? Are there after school opportunities for that student to stay after and get caught up? Can we help coordinate? So that, again, that ABC data is going to be really, really important for school counselors. Okay. All right, I'm going to share my screen real quick, and I want to show you a graphic. This is a graphic. So, as you know, I'm formerly the program coordinator for comprehensive school counseling. We still have that position in our office with Dr. Searcy, of course, and I work closely with her, but I'm currently the director of diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. So a lot of times people tend to put DEIB in a box, right? Diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging is only focused on this one thing. This graphic shows you the many things that we're focused on our team. We're focused on celebrating each stakeholder, hearing from them. That's why we have a whole agenda item for you to share out today. We're focused on collecting data, whether it's quantitative or qualitative data. We call qualitative data street data. We're focused on access and opportunities, and again, student, educator, and family voice. Our team is in charge of graduation requirements, right? We just had a new regulation that was put in, or a revised regulation that was put in on early graduation. We're in charge of the individual learning plan. And I want to remind you that we've got the ILP playbooks in Kentucky. I just think it's amazing because they're ready-made free lessons, especially school counselors can use because they're from that school counseling perspective, and they're all tied to social emotional competencies, and they're all based on the psychosocial stages of development for kids, right? So we're not just taking into a consideration, this would be good for an elementary student. We're saying things like this would be good for an 8-year-old. We're in charge of advanced learning. So hopefully by now you are aware that no student in Kentucky will pay more than $12 for an AP exam. Again, that is equitable. We have really worked hard to ensure that no student that receives free or reduced lunch will pay any money for AP or IB, International Baccalaureate. No student that takes an AP computer science course of any kind will pay $1 for that. And then again, for standard fee students, they will only pay $12 for advanced placement. Our team also has funded 30 extra 30 extra spots with the Governor Scholars Program, and then a whole other second campus for Governor School for the Arts. So now, instead of just 256 kids that are able to attend Governor School for the Arts in the summers, there are about 512. Okay, we've talked about the equity dashboard. The equity toolkit allows us to offer things like the equity playbook, which Kentucky is the first state in the entire country to offer the equity playbook, which is free, executive, personalized coaching. Of course, we made sure that not only did district leaders, school leaders, and teachers have access to it, but we have an emphasis on school counselors for that. We do a lot on culturally sustaining practices. Our school counseling approaches should be culturally relevant and culturally sustaining, right? When we say that, what do we mean? We mean it should take into consideration our students' cultural wealth, right? What is your cultural wealth that you're bringing to this space? I want to acknowledge that. I want to recognize that and value that. And then I want to make learning based on things, again, that are culturally relevant to you, okay? Obviously, we're here for school counseling, and then we offer quite a bit of personal learning and technical assistance. So that's just a little snapshot of our team and the things that we offer. All right, so give me a thumbs up if you're with me. How are we doing so far? We doing okay? All right, any feedback on anything that we've said before so far? I want to do a quick check-in. Any feedback or questions or thoughts?
Dr. Sweeney, how would we access the webinar that you and Dr. Searcy are doing? Is that a free webinar if we're ASCA members, or is that something that we have to sign up for separately?
I'm so glad you asked, Paula. Thank you. It is a free webinar, but you do have to be an ASCA member. Can I get some help? If you can just Google that, ASCA free webinars, and then just put the link to the one. There are 2 coming up this month, so just put the link to free ASCA webinars, and you'll be able to sign up for both of those. Kate.
Oh, I just related to the whole attendance and missing. Like I would be more than happy to share any of the stuff that I have, especially in terms of tracking data. I typically present on that, but we started really implementing an attendance plan at my previous school, and one of the things we started doing is that it used to be we would count down the days until break, and it's like, woo, fall break, get out of here, see ya. And then we started saying, hey, it's fall break, have a great time. We're really going to miss you when you're gone. Just know that we are really going to miss you. We hope you have fun, but we're going to miss you. And I mean, literally the first time that we did it, there was there wasn't like the screaming and yelling on the way out of just, of kids like, well, I'm on break, no more rules. But there was just a genuine, like, giving hugs and saying, like, I'm going to miss you. I love you. And it made a remarkable difference immediately. And then we also did a back to school bike ride where it was like, we shouldn't be dreading the start of school. We should be excited that school's starting. Like, school is a fun place. You want to be here. And so it was like a big hurrah around the neighborhood, getting kids excited that school was starting back up instead of that, summer's over.
I love that. Kate, will you write would you feel comfortable writing a blurb about how you're utilizing the attendance data and then intervening with that data for the next Counselor Connection newsletter?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. So when we were watching, Travis, I'm going to call on you next, but when we were watching those videos yesterday, we made sure that we got the asynchronous modules. We made sure that we went to schools and captured like video from school counselors. And one of the things that we heard was they put a sign, the first thing that you see is welcome to where you belong in the school. And they said that their families talked over and over and over about how that made them feel like they truly belong. Their students, how it made their students feel. So it's those little things that, you're like, really? But it can make a huge difference. All right, Travis?
Yeah, I was just wondering, I went to Amazon, you plugged your book a little bit, and I was just wondering where I could get it.
Yeah. I'll tell you the name of the book because I'm definitely, it's not, I don't profit from it or benefit from that. I just have a chapter in it. I'm really, it was a lifelong goal to write a book or write for a book, and I'm just honored to be in there. So that book is called The School Counselor's Guide to Multi-Tiered Systems of Support, and it's the 2nd edition. And my chapter is called Braiding Key Initiatives into the MTSS Framework to Support the Whole Child. So again, we really want to help our school counselors be more efficient with their time, put initiatives together, braid those initiatives so they're not going to meeting after meeting after meeting, which will ultimately accomplish the same goals. Okay.
Is that available on Amazon? Is that where it's?
It is. Yes.
Yeah, okay. Thanks a lot.
Travis. Yes, it is. It is, sir. Again, do not benefit from that. I do not get paid by that. All right, Carrie.
I just wanted to share a program that we implemented at my elementary school that's really been successful in the last couple, probably 2 years, with helping improve our attendance, which obviously improves everything else as the whole child. We call it AAA, and it stands for Attendance, Academics, and Overall Achievement. And basically, we work with our entire administrative team, with myself and then our Frisky and our attendance clerk. And when we have our admin meetings on Monday morning, we pull our attendance rosters and we look at, a certain number of unexcused absences. And once kiddos get to a certain number of unexcused absences, we have our Frisky go out and do a home visit. And then if that doesn't support the attendance and getting kids to school, we call parents in for a AAA meeting. And a lot of times when you think about like truancy meetings, I think in history, it would be like, oh, you're going to like berate parents for like getting your kids to school. If you don't get your kids to school, you're going to go to court. We look at it as a way to say to parents, how can we help you get your kids to school? This is where we go over their academics, where they're currently at. We look at their social emotional well-being with the parents, and we just have a conversation with them about how important it is for them to be at school. And really the goal of those meetings are to say, we're a part of your village. So how can we ensure that we can help you get your kids to school to help them, as a whole child? And it's really been beneficial. It's also helped us with our DPP, because we can say we've done all these things. And then if the attendance doesn't improve, then the DPP can make that referral for truancy if needed. So it's just another layer of support that we're trying to offer our families, to one, support them, but two, it's also a way of data collection to say we've done all these things, and if attendance still is improving, at the elementary level, then it becomes a problem with the parent and the DPP. So it's been really successful here. Our district has initiatives for attendance for like your school and grade levels and stuff, and you can win like little banners and awards and stuff, and our school has really done well in that. And so it's also been a little bit of a mood boost for both our staff and our kids when you win those like district little awards and stuff. So I just wanted to share that that's a program we're doing, and we've found a lot of success in it. And we work as a big administrative team to ensure that that's successful.
Love that, Carrie. Can you repeat what AAA stands for?
Yeah, we have it standing for attendance, academics, and then overall achievement. So for the whole child.
Okay. All right. We'll probably give you a call and follow up on that. That sounds amazing. Thank you. All right. I want to tell you about a few other things. Does that sound good? All right. As well as I do, that about a month ago, around Halloween, that's when our educators start to feel that sense of overwhelm, that sense of fatigue. Is that about right? About the end of October. So our team we're piloting something called, we're piloting a book study, and we're using a book called The Energy Bus by John Gordon. It's a really short read, and it's not one of those professional development books where you're like, oh man, it's a fable. It's about a guy that, he's heading to work, and his life, he's struggling, and he gets a flat tire, and he's got to ride the bus, and the bus driver's name is Joy, and she is going to teach him 10 lessons, to provide more energy in his life. The first lesson is, you are the driver of your own bus, right? So when Antonio is overwhelmed because he's got a lot of people pulling at him for different things, he gets to remind himself, like, I'm the driver of my bus. This is my journey. Nobody quite understands my journey because nobody can truly be in my shoes. I get to control my destiny, and I get to control how I approach this situation. Am I going to be overwhelmed and complaining and negative, or am I going to take this as a challenge and really step up and find ways to accomplish the goals that I have, So that's one thing that we're doing. I did this as a school counselor for our new teachers. We would get a copy of the Energy Bus and do that with them, and it was always helpful. Now, if I was in your shoes, I would probably, do this as a pilot for any teacher or anybody classified or certified in my school that just needed that boost of energy. Each chapter, besides the first chapter, is about 5 or 6 pages, so it's a very quick read. I want you to be aware that so Dr. Searcy and I are also adjunct professors at Spalding University for the school counseling program, and we are piloting something for future school counselors called school simulations. And so we are developing one from a school counselor perspective, and it is the challenge of creating more representation of underrepresented students in advanced and gifted classes, right? So if you see that you have a disproportionate number of underrepresented students in those programs, what are some decisions you need to make in order to right that ship, right? So with School Sims, you make a lot of different decisions, of course, virtually, and then you get feedback on those decisions. It's like it's gamifying professional learning, and nobody's going to be negatively impacted if you make the wrong decision. But it does show you how, if this was a real scenario, that could happen. What are the positive benefits of your decision? What are the negative ones? One example is, you're a new school counselor at a brand new school. You see this disproportionality. Do you take it to your school counselors and get them on board with your plan? Do you go straight to the principal? Do you send out a letter to families saying, we want your students in this program? Like, where do you start? So that's just a quick example of that sim. And we are interested in potentially creating future school simulations for our school counselors here in Kentucky. Our principals in Kentucky, our new principals currently have access to school sims. Shout out to P3 for offering that to our new school principals rather. And we'd like to figure out a way to do that for our counselors. Our use of time survey was due on November 1st from our superintendents. We had to do things a little bit different this year. We had to make sure that we really stuck to the letter of the law. We couldn't add anything. In the past, we were able to add things like these tasks that school counselors are doing are appropriate or inappropriate based on what ASCA says. This time we could only show like what is direct and indirect. There was a little bit of, we were able to hear from the Kentucky School Counseling Association, who adequately, and they did a great job at advocating. And we had some language in there about ARCs. And we were able to revise that language based on KSCA's advocacy. Big shout out to you, Sarah Aiken, and your team. And we changed that to advocating for students and ARC meetings. So of course, just to make sure that we're all on the same page, if you're advocating for students and they are in that ARC meeting, that can be a direct student service, right? If they're physically present. If you have younger students that you're advocating for in those meetings, it can be an indirect student service. And that would be appropriate, right? Okay. We are missing about 28 of those surveys from superintendents. So we've emailed all of those again, and on Monday, we'll start calling those districts. A lot of times, there are errors, right? So a superintendent or a school district may have sent that to the wrong email address, or they may have used an outdated form, or perhaps their data didn't add up to 100% of a school counselor's time. So we're also troubleshooting those little issues there. I recently had some fun, and I've been able to travel a little bit and present on school counseling to different groups. I was able to go up to Loyola University in Baltimore and present on, Travis, I know you'll smile, on hip hop counseling. And if you can imagine it, it was a Friday night from 5 to 8 p.m. and we had faculty members from Loyola, students, and district counselors, and not a single person left. We had 30 people show up on a Friday night from 5 to 8 p.m. So it was just nice to get out there and show folks a different way of approaching finding ways to approach school counseling and connect with kids, right? So if you're ever in need of support, ideas on that, give me a shout. I'll be going out to El Paso and doing some of that work as well after the new year and talking to them a lot about Tier 2. Right, so this is a common need that people are looking for is how can we support students in Tier 2, especially small groups, and how can we make sure that it's relevant to their lives? All right. The last couple of things I want you to be aware of. I am hitting enter in the chat box. We recently had an opportunity to go to a Kentucky United We Learn Council meeting and help with draft language on vibrant learning experiences. And we were able to contribute to the draft definition of a vibrant learning experience, which is in the chat box. And we contributed things like we made sure that there were terms like joyful learning experiences or opportunities and honoring students' cultural wealth, gifts, and interests. So those were some contributions that our team was able to make, and we're really excited about, finalizing that definition of vibrant learning experiences, connecting with Kentucky United We Learn, connecting with Portrait of a Learner, and showing how all of the work is connected and not siloed. So there's not like our team over here and then this work going on over there. It's all together, right? Which is what we would expect at a school or a district. So I wanted to share that and was really excited about that. The last couple of things for me is we have been working with our social emotional learning specialist. Let me see if I see Sarah, you're here. Do you mind giving a quick update about our meeting, which was on Tuesday?
Sure. So with each of the cooperatives, they have a social emotional learning specialist, and we have been creating a document called the Social Emotional Learning Implementation Guide. And what this guide is going to be is just a guide for schools and for districts and for educators within those schools and districts to be able to know how to implement social emotional learning in 3 different areas, specifically looking at like the district level, what that looks like at the district level, what it looks like at a school level, and what it looks like in a classroom. And so we are working together to come up with a training that will be available through your educational cooperatives. Each cooperative is going to do it just a little bit different based off of the needs of their schools and districts. And so we are kind of finalizing that implementation guide. Dr. Sweeney and his team has helped us with an editor that is kind of final editing that document. And then we're putting the final touches on what that training is going to look like, and we'll be rolling that out here in the very near future. So we're really excited about the document because it really breaks it down very simply of this is what it looks like to do SEL in a classroom. This is what it looks like at the school level and then at the district. But there's lots of practical strategies and resources that are embedded in this guide. And so it's going to be a really great opportunity, and we're just really, really excited about it.
Thank you, Sarah. Yes, we are really excited. It's 3 years in the making. And so, for it to be so close to being done, we were able to see those slides just on Tuesday and really get a feel for what that training can look like. And so, again, just really exciting stuff. All right, I just have a couple of questions for you, and then I would like to hear a little bit about different priorities from your perspective that you're seeing in your positions. First question is, what trainings do school counselors in Kentucky need right now? Where is the gap? I'm working with Sarah, for one, on providing a training in Western Kentucky. And we want to make sure that, we're not just providing trainings to provide trainings, but we're really, we want to make sure we hit the nail on the head and give our folks exactly what they need. So what are some different topics? You can feel free to come off mute or put it in the chat box, but what are some different topics that you're seeing as a need for school counselors in our state? Thank you, Rachel.
Hey, Damien,
to,
it's Santina. So I
Hey,
would say, hi. In our region, in the OVEC region, in my wanderings in and out of districts and just talking with counselors, it's becoming very apparent to me just knowing what our role is in MTSS. So, I've been putting my head together with some folks at OVEC on, how can we make that intentional for like school counselors and their role in the MTSS process, being involved in those district level meetings as well as the school level meetings is a need in our region specifically.
Okay, that's super helpful, Santina. Thank you. Travis?
Sure. Yeah, it's actually really similar. You mentioned a bit ago, people were working on tier 2 interventions, right? And I would love to training on that. I always feel like, am I doing the right thing? What are other people doing in this situation? How do I fit into the RTI process, which is obviously part of MTSS? And so yeah, that's dead on what I would be interested in as well.
Yeah, that's helpful. And I think, to that point with tier 2, I think that next week should also be helpful because you'll hear more about like how you can coordinate those efforts, those tier 2 efforts with other role groups. Beth, let's go to you. It's good to see you.
Hi there. Similar to years past, but I'm kind of seeing in a little bit of a different way the need for training and organization and prioritization in terms of, everyone understands the ASCA model. We've all had the classes, had the trainings. It's not lack of training, but it's more putting those systems into place in an efficient way. And similar to what, you mentioned the ILP playbook. There could be a need for something similar to that, and it may already exist in the co-ops and such, but in terms of just a body of knowledge and forms and information and that could be used for systems in those tier 2 and 3 interventions.
Ooh, I love that. Love that. So you're saying kind of like create a playbook for tiers 2 and 3 interventions for SEs. Okay, love that. Thank you, Beth. Courtney, let's go to you, and then we'll hear from Mindy, and then Suzanne.
Hi. So one of the things that we're really struggling with here is the need for the tier 2 and tier 3. We're doing okay with those. More for like tier 1 at the high school level, and how to implement that that balance of SEL where, everybody's got all these, their schedules, and the academic importance is so heavy at the high school level as well. And so just balancing that tier 1 and what we can do to make it, there's a lot of tier 1 for elementary, but how to make it more beneficial for high school students and specifically grades 10th, 11th, and 12th.
Okay, no, that's super helpful. One quick thing that I will just say on that, Courtney, is your school counseling advisory. There are templates for that advisory on the ASCA website. Best practice is to meet just twice a year, right? So it's not overwhelming. You're going to do that with students, family members, and community members. And what I found is when I would assume something, I would get it wrong. But when I would talk to students and I would say, like, what do you need? Do we need to talk about vaping? Do we need to talk about bullying? Do we need to talk about, whatever? That was where I got the most gold. I could really nail down like topics to present on that they wanted. We also have resources for like needs assessments. So you can give out like simple surveys, do your QR codes, very quick surveys, like what question or what topics would you like to see, me provide? So
Thank you so much.
yeah, definitely. But reach out, I'd be happy to pass any of those resources on, and we'll make sure that we talk a little bit more about that in future trainings. Mindy, let's hear from you.
Hi, I think I'm going to be duplicating some things here. Obviously, tier 2 and tier 3 are a big hot spot, but I think we need assistance with not only the interventions, and sometimes I think we do a really good job with the interventions, but translating it to data sometimes I think is difficult. It's we pull them, we do individual things, we do the check-ins, but sometimes I feel like we get lost in now how do we mathematically compute that to show if it's effective or if it's not. And so just I guess to tag on to help with tier 2, tier 3 interventions, also tying it to the data that supports it so that we have that to show what's working, what's not, and it can guide our practices.
All right, so Mindy, I'm gonna ask you, ask you if you don't mind. I'll take care of that. Don't worry about it. But that was really, really good. But I want to make sure that I'm really capturing what you're saying. Would you mind just kind of putting one sentence on what you're looking for in terms of like translating interventions to data in the chat box so I can make sure that I accurately capture that?
Yeah, I'll do my best.
All right, thank you. All right, Suzanne, let's hear from you.
So what I am struggling with, I think, is like twofold. I think it was Carrie that mentioned advocating for more certified counseling positions. And that kind of coincides with something that I'm struggling with at my school. So my role here is mostly appropriate duties. I do not do the master schedule. I'm not the building assessment coordinator. However, I'm finding it very difficult with the numbers because right now there's one full-time and we're at like 666 kids. We do have someone who comes in 3 days a week, but even with that, the ratio is still over 400. And so it's, even though I'm not involved in those inappropriate, all of the time is spent on things like behavior and mental health. So I'm finding it hard to advocate for my role or our contributions on the academic side of things and attendance. And so I really think that we need additional certified counselors so that we're able to kind of function in both roles.
Yeah, that's helpful.
I guess, yeah.
Hold on. Suzanne, you were breaking up at the end. What's the last thing you said?
I think with getting that ratio to a more appropriate point, having more certified, that we would be able to stay involved in the academic success and attendance as well as the mental health and behavior, which tends to take precedent. So I feel like there are days that I feel like that I have become like an on-call counselor, and but the proactive things that I need to be involved in, it's taking a back seat just due to not having enough of us, not having enough time.
Okay, so I'm going to give you just a quick suggestion, but I love your, I love that thought. Thank you for bringing that to the table. So I love that you already know your caseload, like you've got 660, I think you said 666. So that's going to be important. What people often don't realize is when you're like creating your goals for the year, tie those goals to the CSIP, tie those goals to the Comprehensive School Improvement Plan. And you may say, well, I want to run groups on, I always like to use the example of like body image, right? We have so many people that struggle with like body image. If you go to a principal and say like, I want to run a group on body image, they may not totally get that by doing that, you're going to improve attendance. By doing that, you're going to improve, when you improve attendance, you're going to improve achievement. When you improve achievement, you're going to improve the culture and climate of the school. So I would want to know, Suzanne, when you're starting to work with a student, what are their grades then? Like at that point, the first time you meet with, Courtney, what is Courtney's grade, especially if, she's struggling with some of the things you talked about, mental health or behavior or whatever. After your interventions, have those grades gone up, or has the attendance gone up? Or a qualitative data point, are that student's teachers seeing an improvement, in engagement from that student? So those are simple ways that you can say, all right, I've got this data to go along with my caseload data. This is showing that the small interventions that I'm putting into place are not only improving attendance, they're possibly improving achievement and engagement. Imagine what could happen if there were more of me. You know what I mean? Like, I did this for Courtney. That's one student, and maybe I did this for Beth and Mindy and Antonio. But what if I could get to Scott and John and Terry? You know what I mean? And right now I can't because my caseload is so big. Right? I think, Travis, did you have your hand up again?
I do.
Okay, go
I
ahead.
thought of something else that I would be very interested in for a training, and we're all trailblazing this year in the wake of Senate Bill 150 and how to navigate being a counselor within these new guidelines, regulations, laws, keeping us like legally safe, but still offering the care and professionalism that that we were accustomed to under ethical guideline standards and whatnot. So it's something I think about a lot, and I feel like I would like to have a training on that, even if it was hearing how other counselors were navigating it, and someone saying that's great, or ooh, that's not hitting the mark there. You might be in trouble if that, from a legal standpoint, if you continued that practice. I would hate to, I was in a class once, and it was on legal issues in education, and the quote that is always stuck in my head is, "You don't have a problem until you have a plaintiff." And I don't want to be in the situation where there's a plaintiff in regards to my professional activities as a counselor in the wake of Senate Bill 150. So that's a long-winded way of saying.
No. I hear you. That's really helpful, Travis. I will just say this. Print out the bill and annotate the bill. What I have found is that there are a lot of like, oh my gosh, this is what it says, this is what it says, or this is what it does. But that's like second and third and fourth hand information. So instead of like really knowing, what constraints there may be, and what is able to happen still, people are kind of just like hearing, it's almost like a rumor mill. So my first advice to you would be print out the bill and really annotate it. But I do want to affirm, like, I'm not just saying that to say that's all you should do. I do want to affirm, like, hearing from other counselors and how they're approaching that would be super beneficial. What we did at OVEC is we even role played some of those situations. So I totally hear you and want to affirm what you're saying.
Well, that sounds absolutely, and that sounds fantastic. Truth, I have read every word of it. The part that always, man, for instance, I used to have a sign in my office: "What you say in here stays in here, unless you say you're hurting someone else, or someone is hurting you, or you want to hurt yourself, or you give me permission." And frankly, that's not true anymore, right? And so I removed it, and I have noticed people are less likely to open up because they know, and I'm very upfront with them, that if I meet with you in regards to social emotional issues, have to call home, and if I'm wrong in that, I want to know that I'm wrong in that, or if other people are navigating it in a different way, would love to hear how they do that. But I do feel like it has had a chilling effect on students opening up to me, and students wanting to come meet with me. So that's the sort of thing. I don't want it to have a chilling effect. If there are ways that people are operating that it hasn't had a chilling effect, I need to know that so I can implement it. So
Yeah, no, that's super helpful. Thank you, Travis. All right, guys. All right, team. I have one more question for you, and then I want to hear some share outs. One of the things that we're very interested in is educator well-being, right? This goes for you. This goes for our teachers, our principals, our classified staff. We want to always be asset driven, right? So we're working on collecting that qualitative data on, have you had an experience with a school leader or district leader that's really been able to support emotional well-being, so that it's really like, Kentuckyized data that we're able to share, and it's not just a bunch of do this, go do that, based on giant reports or tools that might be overwhelming to consider. So if you have any examples of school leaders that have just been really, really effective in positively impacting educator well-being, will you put that in the chat box? And then while you're doing that, I'm just going to finish up the meeting by asking, is there anything that you want us at KDE to be aware of that may be a challenge for you, or even celebrations or successes that you've had where you just feel like other people would benefit from hearing? Kate, did you want to share?
Just going back to what you were saying about the well-being, I just have two examples that were huge. So we really took apart our impact survey when we were not happy with the results and made very specific goals to our 3 lowest areas. And then we had roundtables with the staff of, what does this look like to you? Because I may be someone who, when someone's in my classroom, I feel supported, but someone else may have a different vision of support. So finding out what exactly do people consider support, or what is the support that they want? What do they find encouraging and not encouraging? And so then after these roundtables, we created the plan and how we are going to implement it. And then we gave the impact survey at the very beginning of the school year, the middle of the school year, and the end of the school year. And we looked at what had changed, what areas still needed. We reviewed it with all of the staff and said, okay, this is what we're focusing on right now. Like, this hasn't moved. What can we do to move this up? And it made a huge impact. Just even with our informal surveys, the results skyrocketed. And school you could feel it in the environment that it was a new place. And then one of the things that we did at my previous school is that we sent out Thanksgiving shout outs. We sent it out to all the staff. We also sent it out to all the family. And then eventually it was just supposed to be Thanksgiving, but it grew to my last year there. It was the entire week of Thanksgiving. We called it taking on an attitude of gratitude. And every hour a Facebook post was made either about a staff member or a student or a family that was written by someone in, either they had to be nominated by somebody, and we posted a picture of them. And I mean, I still get things on Facebook of someone tagging me in their post 4 years ago. I mean, it made a huge difference, and it was a little bit of a pain scheduling it on Facebook, but really you just made the Google form and then you copied and pasted, and there it went.
I love that. It just reminded me of a message I've told you all so many times, how far little things go. You know, when I left Seneca as a school counselor, I can't tell you how many times a teacher would stop me and say, I still have that little Post-it note that you sent me. I had a student reach out to me just a week or two ago, and she said, you know, she was going through her old things and she found this card from me that congratulated her on her KMEA performance. And I, of course, was like, it must have been because you practice in my office, you know, but those little bitty notes that take you 45 seconds to write can show that gratitude and really build people up. That's what I'm hearing from you, Kate. Now, I do have one clarifying question. Kate, I loved what you said about the breaking down the 3 lowest areas of the working conditions survey and the roundtables. And it sounds like you're doing empathy interviews in the roundtables, but did you say that you're taking the exact questions from the working conditions survey and giving those exact questions the 3 times? Okay, 3 times a year. All right, that's helpful. All right, what else are we seeing, you all? Thank you, Kate. Julie.
So I'm at the high school, at Russellville High School, and we have a period of time that we call claw in our day, which we are Panthers, so that's a group of Panthers as a claw. But my principal was formerly the school counselor, and he has allowed for a Passion Thursday is what we call it. And so our teachers got to select something that they were passionate about. And then our kids get to choose what they want to go to. And so it's about a 25-minute period, but the impact it has had on the culture and the relationships with students and teachers has been phenomenal. So I know we sometimes say it's difficult to find the time, but it's really been worth our while for this to happen. So I just kind of wanted to share that if you can find a way to carve out even just a little bit of time once a week, I think it's kind of like the favorite spot in the week for those people.
I am crazy about that. That is amazing. I love that. I love that it builds a relationship with the adult and the students. And I love that it brings in passion. But then there's that personalization of like students get to choose. Thank you for sharing. Anybody else?
We do something similar to that. The first 25 minutes every day of our schedule is advisor advisee. That's where we do all of our tier 1 instruction. But every Friday is club day Friday. And so students get to choose. And the clubs are everything from photography to cornhole to we have a kindness club. We have a student leadership club. Once a month, we extend that and do like an extended club day. And so our purpose for that, even though we are doing the tier 1 in the class, our purpose is so that students that weren't able to do any kind of extracurriculars or participate in things after school kind of felt like they had a sense of belonging during the school day. And it allowed them to participate and explore some things that, you know, wouldn't be otherwise in classes. And so we've seen a great response to that from our students. Some of our kiddos that kind of felt excluded or didn't feel like they had a place, we've seen them kind of get plugged in.
Love that. Gosh, there's so many great ideas. Thank you, you know, for your contributions and sharing. First off, how has today been? How's today's meeting been? Good? Give me a thumbs up. All right. As we head out, I want to finish up with an optimistic closure. So I do have that, but before we do, I want to make sure that I've gotten all questions. Does anybody have any questions? Does anybody have anything else that they'd like to share before we do that optimistic closure?
I'm not sure if this is the appropriate space to talk about the support that I'd like to receive or questions I'd like to ask of KDE with regards to the use of time data collection. You know, Fayette County is rather large, and you know the related professionals are in the roles of school counseling, so it's really complicated here to try to collect that data. But I really would like, in order to get buy-in from admin and have that data really mean something, I think we need to, I would like for us to kind of like maybe calibrate the questions so that they don't change from year to year, because the data can't really be used over time if the questions are different. And then the different roles, so you have counselors, those are specific questions, which I love, I'm a counselor. But then we have, school psychs, social workers, and in my district, guidance specialists who are serving in the role of school counselors. Their questions don't quite equate to the questions of the school counselors, yet they have professional bodies, and it doesn't seem to reference their professional association or standards in terms of what their work needs to look like. So it seems to have less value for my folks to really be able to use that data or to take that data seriously. So they're just putting any kind of everything in there, and it's not helpful when KD sends out another survey and it's totally different. The definitions are different. And so anyhow, I would love for us to calibrate that, or someone to clue me in on what I'm doing wrong or how I can better use that tool to advocate for counselors and mental health providers and students ultimately.
Yeah, that's helpful, Antonio. So a couple of things I want to mention. We reached out to, again, the presidents of each association to ensure that those questions were relevant to their profession. And we actually had to revise several questions to ensure that they were aligned. So I want you to be aware of that. In the past, we have worked with JCPS specifically just because it was such a huge district in order to, for their data reporting. It looks a little bit different. So I'd be happy to work with you, in any of that. And I'd be happy to work with you on how we can use your data to make it relevant to your school and district leaders. Finally, I want you to know, so we are only 3 years into the process, and every year there's been, we try to grow, just like you all. We try and make it better, more efficient, more relevant, while also sticking to that one little paragraph in the law. And so, I hate to hear that, some people, may not feel that it's helpful, but we are constantly trying to grow. So one thing that I would just suggest, any of you are welcome to email us and give us feedback on that. What would improve the process? What questions were perhaps off or your folks didn't find useful? What additional questions would be, you help us, because it's just like we say to you, you can't assume anything. You've got to talk to people. So you're the people that we want to talk to, and we want to get your voice and constantly improving. But I mean, because of that, you're not going to have that same question every year, just because, again, it's such a young process that I feel like every year we've improved, but clearly it's not perfect yet, and it may never be. Okay. All right. Any other questions or thoughts that you would like to share?
I just put something in the chat about hi, it's Cordia from JCPS. I just put something in the chat about just wanting to follow up with I think at our last meeting we spoke about the increased rate of suicide among Black and Brown students, and I thought someone had mentioned a cohort or a group and some stuff being kind of initiated and looked into, and I just was wondering if there was any updates on that or anything that should be or about to be implemented or stuff like that at the school level. So that's not an immediate answer. I need just something I'll follow up on.
So I'm working on a study with different school counselors throughout the country on that. There is a study that you should be aware of called Ringing the Alarm. I'll follow up and send that to an email to you all. But we're using that as a foundation for, this is the problem that we're seeing. These historically underrepresented students feel hopeless. We actually have KIPP data. Give me 1 second. On that. Okay, I've got it right here. All right, so right, here we go. So let's see here. All right, so in Kentucky, students who reported being a target of racism were 2.6 times as likely to report serious psychological distress, 2.4 times as likely to report self-harm, 2.7 times as likely to report suicidal ideation, and 3.1 times as likely to report attempting suicide. So we're using all of that data to really like ring the alarm and say like this is a pervasive problem in Kentucky and all throughout our country. What are things that our school counselors and other school-based mental health staff can do proactively, in order to target these groups that are often struggling with discrimination, racism, mental health, suicidal ideation, et cetera. I want to say it right. Cordia? Okay, yes, all right. I think you had sent me an email and I sent your name on to the person on that study. If you don't mind sending me another quick email, I want to get you connected to Steve. I call him Ask a Steve because he's everywhere with the American School. His name is Steve Sharp, but I want to get you connected because, your voice is important. All right, you all, we're going to end with an optimistic closure. So we started the meeting with an inclusion activity that said, what are 3 words that can describe like what you're going to do to provide that hope? I want to hear people just come off mute. I want to hear like not just a general like I'm going to be empathetic. What is one actionable thing that you're going to do for these last few weeks before the new year? What is one thing you're going to do to provide that hope? I'll tell you one for me. I'll start. I am being really intentional about utilizing that book, The Energy Bus, to provide hope and optimism for our educators that may be struggling. So that is like one actionable thing that I will be doing.
I have one, and then I'll shut up. I know it's real cheesy, and I'm at a middle school, but my middle schoolers love doing kindness challenges. And so I'm doing a kindness challenge for the next 2 weeks because I know it's crazy right now in a way, to kind of just increase the mood. And they have specific things they have to do. And the winning grade gets an ice cream party because, food is great. So that's my thing.
I love that. Kindness challenge. Love it. What's something else?
Our mental health coordinator gave us some positive thoughts and affirmations for our kids to choose. And so what I'm doing is whenever we have students who are just kind of down on themselves or upset, then I'm making them choose a few of them and write them down, and then they can take them home. And they're able to just take those home and think about them and use. So there's like, oh gosh, 150 of them that they can choose from. So I'm telling them just to put them, places like their lockers or their home on the bathroom mirror, but making them choose some that they could feel comfortable saying to themselves.
I love that. Thank you. Love, love, love. Give me a few more.
Sorry.
Jessica, let's start with you and then we'll go to Heather.
Okay. I facilitate a kindness club that meets after school, and one of the things that we're going to be working on Friday is just making positive notes for all the students and staff members to take home over the break. So we'll be writing those notes on Friday for everybody.
Oh my gosh, obsessed. Love it. Thank you. Heather, let's go to you.
Okay, so with my counseling lessons this week and the week before we leave for Christmas break, we are focusing on empathy. And so we are working together to learn with kindergarten. I have an observation after this actually to teach them empathy and to learn the definition, but then with my older kids to start understanding how to show empathy to others.
So we have a bulletin board as well that is just a black piece of paper with white chalk on it, and they're trees. And we have light bulbs, and then the kids can choose to write what they would do to light up someone's life or world or day. And they're going to add that to the bulletin board before we leave for the next couple of
I
weeks.
love that. So good. You also made me wonder, like, how you teach students to be upstanders. So like when they see something, say something kind of thing. So be interested in that maybe for the next conversation. Can I get one or two more? Scott?
I'm actually.
Oh, Carrie and then Scott. Go ahead.
I can see that even coming back from Thanksgiving break, this is more staff related, but my staff is really tired. You know, we were talking about the book that you were talking about of the energy bus, but I can tell their energy buses are, you know, they're on the struggle bus as educators.
They're parked right now.
It's a true story. And so I usually send out a Counselor Tip Tuesday once a month, but since before Thanksgiving and now, I've been sending it out every week to give them tips to help students who are struggling, but also different ways for themselves. And I'm trying to avoid the word self-care because our staff is kind of over the word self-care, even though we know we all need it. It's like a buzzword that they're tired of hearing. So in my Counselor Tip Tuesdays, I'm doing it every week, and then also putting like for staff and then for students, and adding whether it's images that can help them or things that they can do in morning meetings with their students, giving them additional resources to pull from. So trying to target, we have a really large staff, so trying to target them to have the trickle down effect like dominoes that goes to our students.
Love that. Thank you. You are doing some incredible things. Scott, thank you so much, Carrie.
So I'm kind of cheating on this. We've been doing this all year, so it won't just be the next 2 weeks. But from the start of the year, we've been doing what we're calling SEL check-ins, where we send a Google survey out. All the students have the opportunity to respond to it, where we just check in with, are you feeling safe? Do you have an adult you feel like you can talk to? Just targeting those for high marks. So positively and negatively, we probably met, the three of us, each week from 3 to 20 kids per week. It's good that we're, there listening and hearing and doing what we can, but we've been meeting with so many, and that's still with only half of our student pop actually responding to these surveys. We have seen numbers go down, but it's just something we've been trying to promote with our SEL pushes this year.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you. I'm glad that you've been able to do that all year and and stay consistent. All right, I want to leave you with my own optimistic closure. The last year of me being a counselor at Seneca, I had what I called the year of yes. So anytime the district would say like, hey, will you write this article for the newspaper? I would say yes. Will you be on the news? I would say yes. If somebody wanted me to present something, I would say yes. And I just had this like, I want to be positive and I want to be that person. Now I'm not telling you to be a yes man. That's not it, right? But I wanted to create the biggest impact, right? So even if it made me uncomfortable, I would say yes. And honestly, if it made me more uncomfortable, the better it was, right? Because I wanted to challenge myself for growth. And then, at the end of that year, that's when I got this random call from Robin McCoy that said, hey, I have been thinking about you in this position. And it was a total surprise, totally out of nowhere, but I truly believe it was because I had kind of manifested that by having that year of yes. There's this song that I've been listening to this year, and it's called Fall on Me. And it says, blessings will fall on me. It says, blessings fall on me, blessings fall on me. And I want you to know, like, when you say that to yourself, like, I am worthy of love, I am worthy of blessings, good things are coming my way, that will happen for you. It's not always going to be that way. It's not always going to be easy. And that year of yes was hard. But blessings can fall on you and good things can happen for you, right? You're doing the work. You're doing so much good. Hopefully you were inspired today by listening to your colleagues. Hopefully some of the updates that I was able to share were exciting as well. We meet next time on February 8th from 10 to 11:30. So you should have that on your calendars. If you do not, send me an email. Paula, I already have you on the list to make sure that you're that you'll be at the next two. You'll be invited to the next two. So I got you on that. But thank you for today. We are here for you. Our team is here for you. Our co-ops are here for you. So reach out, support each other as well, right? I was on a team of 4 counselors and I still felt like in the same building and I still felt like I was on an island as a school counselor and that nobody quite understood. So help each other, reach out to each other, give each other that that moment of, I see you, I recognize you, I see the work that you're doing. You are worthy, you are good, you are strong, you are loved. You all have a great day. Thank you for everything. Like I said, reach out if you need support. Thank you.